Coming up, we've worked hard to bring you another great episode. You know what would make my day? If you listen, yes, but you can really make me smile by subscribing. You can go to offthenose.com or on whatever platform you're using right now. They all have that little subscribe button. Go there right now, click that, and boom, happy Kelly. If that's not enough, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Insta and Twitter. You can share the episode with your friends or colleagues. So many options to show your love. But let's just start simple and subscribe today, right now. Don't put it off. You guys rock. Today on the show, it is explosive. It is international model turned tech entrepreneur, global tech entrepreneur, Anina Net. This is one of the most fascinating conversations I've ever had. We talk augmented reality. We talk about robots. We talk about jackets that you can swipe the arms and they turn into butlers. Just amazing. She is producing innovative products around the world. We talk about what's going on in China versus the US and different cultures and how they look at technology and innovation. It's a fascinating conversation. Let's get into it with Anina Net. Let's go.
Gotta get it how it goes now. You gotta take it off the nose. It's off the nose. Gotta get back in control now. Let's stop believing in ourselves. It's off the nose.
When I pivoted from being only a fashion model to becoming and building myself as the tech model, and sort of that whole realization and transition was a huge pivot. And then also, if you'd like, I could also talk about my view on the whole world and sort of what's going on in this ginormous pivot in terms of technology, philosophy, and orientation, because I've seen it really from a global perspective, being that I'm in China and that
Yes.
I'm American and European, sort of a little bit of a broad view there. So
Love that.
Those would be sort of two things that I think would really hit your mark. And then I guess talking about how businesses have to get up to speed with technology and pivot, and how do you figure that out? So those are sort of the things that strike me as all the pivoting going on here. It's almost like we're doing the twist.
We're doing it. We'll get a little exercise in while we're here.
Come on, baby. Let's do that twist, right? It's like pivoting all over the place.
Yes,
so,
I know.
Yeah,
and the word is so overdone, but it's like, what's a better word? I mean, you're going one direction. It's a fork in the road. You pivot, you choose, you say yes, you look up. I mean, whatever word you want to choose, that's
Did you have a pivot? I would love to know, just before we start, just a little more about you. And,
I did.
Did you have a pivot?
I did. Throughout my career, I was the girl on the resume where it was like 1 year here, 1 year here, 2 years there. And it was by choice, not because I was, not good at what I was doing. I was just always looking for opportunity, and not from a opportunistic, like make more money. I wanted to feel passion and excitement for what I was doing. I wanted to know I could affect change. And if I didn't feel that, then I was ready to move on. And it takes about a year at a place to figure it out. So I've had people look at my resume over the years and give the, and I'm like, what society thinks. But my longest stint, I was CEO at a large company for 11 years and led the sale of that about a year ago, and walked away because did not like working for private equity per se, and just the environment had changed. this spirit. It was very focused on the numbers versus the culture and empowerment. And, so it just changed. So I'm pivoting and started a media company. And this is the first podcast. We'll be bringing on many more podcasts and creating a speaker series and things like this. So that's my pivot at 48. Here I be.
I'm so glad you say your age, because man, I'm like right up there with you. And so many times, I don't know if you have this, that I look around at other women and it seems like, they got the house and the car and the husband and the kids and the money in the bank. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so far behind, right? And
No,
and not
you're
that
not.
I would want that, but at the same time, it seems like I'm far behind, because they got like a system in place, or they have stuff, I guess.
They
That's
have
it. They have
stuff,
stuff.
but it's so interesting. I interviewed a motivational speaker, Dr. Travis Fox, and I kept using words like you're using, and he kept correcting me. I would say, like, once you get there, and he's like, get where? And I go, well, like, get to the top, or he's like, what top? And it was just, wow. I mean, he was playing a game on my mind, but get to the what, get what stuff, like, what does that do? And that's not what life's about. Life's about in the moment. How do you feel? Do you like how you feel? Are you pumped up? Then great, you're in a good spot. Stop trying to get somewhere. So it was pretty fascinating. And now I'm, super cognizant of my word choices. I'm talking to I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old. I'm like, you don't have to get anywhere. Just be passionate. Just go do something you love, because that was a good message. Because what's the stuff? You're not missing out on the stuff.
Well, right now I'm watching all my friends on Instagram on holiday at the beach. They're in the luxury hotel, and they're in Bali or wherever, or Greece or this, and I'm like, and I'd be here slaving away in the concrete jungle trying to earn a buck. Like,
yes.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
slaving away, putting on my conference, teaching myself 360 video today, just trying to figure out what's the next moves, because my industry of wearable technology just kind of went poof for a bit now, because nobody moved anywhere. So nobody needs a ring that you can touch and will tell you your geolocation and send a help message to somebody. But I did think that there's lots of this lockdown that abused women actually could use my ring, because they could just very casually ping someone, like
Absolutely.
a neighbor or something, like, I'm getting the shit kicked out of me.
Absolutely.
Could you come knock on my door? So it has also forced me to think of new paradigms where people might need different technologies that I have developed and stuff. So
see, don't you love that? I mean, right? Because in tragedy, there is opportunity, right? And so, and I know you and I both mean that in the most positive way. And I can tell that you have complete sympathy for the tragedy and the people who are not able to benefit from this time, if you will. But that said, there is opportunity. And it just, if you want to think creatively and have an entrepreneurial spirit, there is no better time than now, because we're being told it's okay. You can stay home. It's okay, right? You can figure it out. It's okay. You can use Zoom and create different backgrounds and be who you want to be. And so it's like society is unlocked the door for a second. And so when I hear people talk about woe is me, my job is this, my job has changed, it makes me crazy because there's always opportunity. And everybody has a fair shot. So you are an intelligent woman. And so when you say, this ring could be used in this other way, you're right. That's why you're an entrepreneur.
I just think that, I don't know if you suffer from this, maybe because you have more people around you or whatever, but it's keeping the fear at bay, the fear thoughts,
Yes.
And I had to meditate. I started meditating now, because when you don't know what to do, what do? Like, you don't know what to do. Like, you're there and you don't know what to do. So honestly, the only thing I can think of to do is sit there and like breathe.
Yes.
And maybe it's because, I don't know if you have this point of view, but like, I guess so much ideas and desires come out of me, but then when you're like, I don't know what to do, actually what you got to get is like receptive for the answer to come to you instead of you doing. I lived in a camping it was a best experience called the Rainbow Tribe when I was a middle-aged teenager, and
where was
lived
this?
with all these yogis and stuff. It's a big movement. It's the largest peace movement in the world, called the Rainbow Tribe. And people just go into wilderness camping and they turn off all their gadgets, and like up 30,000-50,000 people. They build a whole village, eco village, and then this is the best part. It's like going to university. Everybody teaches everybody what they know.
Oh my
gosh.
It's amazing.
I love it's really incredible. And the other thing is that there's no rules, like outside of like, don't hurt somebody else, right? But there really are no rules. So like, you learn things. Like, I was walking around and I was like, oh, like, you have to have water, right? So keep water clean is like rule 1, right? So I was like, oh, that fence fell down. We should tell somebody. And my friend said, tell who? I said, well, somebody to fix the fence. And he says, tell you. There's only you. If you see it's broken, go fix it. Like, there's no like committee here of the like
just call somebody.
Yeah, it's like, there's only you. It's you. And my friend told me one time, one of the yogis there, I was like, I don't know what to do today. And he goes, oh, I challenge you to just sit there the whole day and do nothing. And I was like, that sounds easy. And he goes, oh, yes, you just try it. He goes, don't you worry. The doing will find you. And in fact, trying to sit for one day and do nothing is one of the hardest things you will ever do, because there will come some woman who will say, do you have any water? Or could you help me with this? Or could you do this? Like, the doing comes and finds you.
That is crazy. That's
right?
wild. I went to a wellness retreat once and they do the silent dinners.
Oh,
that was enough of a just what it sounds like. It is a silent dinner. And it was I maybe if I was by myself, I mean, because I'm silent if I go out to dinner by myself anyway, but very, very challenging. Yes. And I guess that's just, you're supposed to be able to be in a room and feed off of the energy of other people and share that, and not have to have words connect you, I guess. So a lot of those wellness retreats do that.
This guy told a story the other day about how he met his wife, and she was Japanese and he didn't speak a word of Japanese. And for like 4 months or some crazy long period of time, they could not communicate. they would go out on dates and they could
Stare
laugh
at each other.
and they could look at each other and they could hold hands and whatever, but they couldn't talk to each other. But yet he talks about how there was so much energy between them that he was like, this is the woman I'm going to marry. Like, this is it. She's it, you know? And it wasn't until like he learned some Japanese and she learned some English that like they started saying that they were having the same experience.
That's crazy. I love
Right?
that. And romantic.
So
Very.
amazing,
Yes.
right? So,
Very. So how did you
this
way back when to become a model? I know
Oh.
I saw a quote you said, I was born to be an entrepreneur. If I want to learn something, I simply go out and teach myself. I love this. But did you know that at 18 or whatever age where we're supposed to make this major life decision?
Absolutely. Like it was inside my soul. Like I must honestly say, like, of course, like I said, I woke up this morning and I'm like, I don't know what to do, you know, this paralyzing thing that overcomes you. But of course, there's a whole list of stuff I can do, right? Like it's an unending list of things to do. But I really don't understand, or I didn't understand people that really didn't know what they wanted to do in their life, because I was born with a vision of how it was going to go, what it was I was supposed to do, technology, like everything. And
Really?
it was very clear to me that I was to become extremely visible. And that through becoming extremely visible, I had a message to bring about technology and the future. And this brings me to the pivot, you know? So I pursued fashion and modeling with a passion. And
you went all over the world.
A whole series of events brought me to it. And then, you know, there again, it's no different than I think now, right? You're like, when are you going to get there? Well, there was, you know, top model, supermodel, super role model, right? Like super internationally known everywhere, projected in all four corners of the world, whatever, you know, like the cover of Vogue. Which actually I never got on the cover of Vogue because there's two companies. There's 𝐂𝐻𝐶 and there's Vogue. And if you're shot for 𝐂𝐻𝐶, you will never be on Vogue. So I ended up the 𝐂𝐻𝐶 route, which is fine.
Okay.
But my point is like this epitome of like being on this incredible cover, which then triggers all these things to happen. Well, actually, like the other thing that triggers it is that you start getting major campaigns. And I did 4 times in a row the worldwide campaign for Gas Jeans, which is one of my favorite companies, and literally I would like walk outside and there would be like billboards of me everywhere. I would be sitting in Milan, you know, going on my castings, right, like taking the tram, and on the poster next to where I was sitting was me. And I would get on the subway or the tram, and in the subway there would be me, and I would be standing next to me, and like it was just me. And then I got off the airplane and it was me, and I was standing in the airport and someone would be like, is that you? And I'd be like, yeah, that's me, you know. And it was like I realized that I had this huge megaphone in front of me and I had nothing to say. Not a peep. So I really like sat down and meditated. That's actually where I took a huge pivot and where I went into the rainbow. I took a huge pivot
from modeling.
I went to the rainbow, right? I was like, I gotta go find it, whatever it is. I gotta go find it, right? So I took this pivot, ended up like caravan on the boat from Italy to Greece, then like all around there in Hungary during the solstice, the whole deal, you know, the whole like letting go and just letting it happen, right? Met incredible people, etc. Ended up back in Amsterdam, called my agent and was like, okay, I'm ready, you know?
I have
So
something to say.
I realized that I needed to become this tech model, which I already was. That's the thing. I already was that. Like everybody in the industry knew me because I had all the gadgets. That's what triggered me to be able to rise so quickly to the top, was because I had technology. I could do business faster. I could be in the middle of a field and get an email on my phone, and it was my agent saying, send me pictures of your hair right now. I have a job for you in Madrid. I'd like hand my phone, the photographer would take my picture, I'd email them, and like boom, I'd be flying that evening to Madrid.
Yep.
And at the time, that was
That
all
was
not
rare.
technically possible, you know?
Mhm.
With inside of Europe, there was no interoperability between, you know, operators. Like when you crossed over from Milan to France, your phone didn't work. You had to buy a whole new SIM card. And also, they were all trying to sell you this MMS stuff. There was no way, unless you were super techie, to make a direct connection, a TCP/IP connection from your phone directly to the internet. You always had to go through some gateway. And if you didn't know the password to the gateway, the SMTP server, there was no way for you to send a photo, a word, anything through the pipe. And so like I would be literally on the phone for like 4 hours arguing with Vodafone or anybody and be like, I need to talk to a technician. And then I get finally the technician, I'd be like, what is this SMTP server information? And they'd be like, smtp.vodafone.net. I'd be like, thank you. Boom. 4 hours just to get that one thing.
Right.
Boom, my phone would work. It would like unlock the magical voodoo that allowed you to blog from your mobile phone, to send photos, pictures, emails, everything. It was like the floodgates. It was like Moses, you know, and the Red Sea. Boom,
Right.
you could cross.
But there were no there was no wearable technology when you were modeling, right?
No, but I hatched up this whole idea of what the tech model would be, right? And so if you wanted to, that's been my whole mission, is to make technology attractive to women. Not only to let them want to use it, wear it, but build it, you know, become CEOs of it, you know, to steer it, right? That has been my big mission. What I came back with was like, we need more women in tech, because I was always at the table with men. And not only that, but we need women developing, creating, steering, driving the technology, right?
Right, because so that we're getting every perspective.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better, my dear Kelly. That's exactly correct. Like,
yes.
We wear multitasking hats, right? Women need different technology, and we need technology that will support our lives, right?
That's right.
So we need to be building it, dictating it, saying what it is and how it should be. Absolutely.
So what are the hot
So how do you get it?
Yeah.
How do you get women who have been conditioned that they cannot do anything techie? Like, I don't know if you remember, but like if so much as like a window popped up, it was like, what do I do? Call the tech guy. And I'm like, just click the button. It says, okay,
it won't hurt you.
It won't, you know, right? But they were raised with this fear. I wasn't raised with that fear. I was raised with computers. I was raised with a family that was like, get on that computer now, you know, like go to code camp, you know, that was what it was like. So they were conditioned. So the only way to make it cool was to make it look cool and to be cool.
Then they're interested.
And to like show how cool tech could be, right? So of course the techie model needs to have her own mobile game. So I developed Anina Dress Up with Adobe Corporation. I built a Anina Dress Up game. You could dress me up. There were no games for girls back then, 0.
Oh my God.
0, not. And I even won like a top, I became a finalist top 10 business plans. But then same problem as today. I faced a jury of all men who said, who
Is
would
this
ever
going to work?
download a
Right.
Prada bag? Who would ever have an avatar? And I was like,
And you're like,
have
well,
you
not
ever
you.
No, but I was like, have you ever heard of World of Warcraft? People buy swords for $400. They buy like battle gear. There's no difference,
Yes.
That's Prada bag, sword, same,
Yes. Yes. Right. So I saw something about a smart glove. There was some success with this, or this got a lot of media coverage at least. Tell me about the smart glove.
Yeah, so Intel Corporation, they had the opportunity to be on CCTV. I helped them to get this opportunity to be on CCTV at Chinese New Year, which is like 1.3 billion people watching, right? And to use their technology. And so we had the opportunity to work with director Jiang Gang, same guy made the Olympics, and he wanted to have a glove where the dancers had crystal balls to amplify the light, and he wanted to have a camera go over the top of 162 dancers and then have this light projection like a light human grid play out, right?
With the gloves that they were all wearing.
The gloves they all were wearing needed to light up in a lighting pattern, but there was all these screens around with so much interference. How the heck were you going to figure that out? Plus, you know how the pencil always wins, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, director Jiang Gang, he did not want to have any high technology in case it failed, right? So he wanted a button. But it's not very ergonomic that these dancers who have been practicing this dance for 6 months, like every day, nonstop, right? Because Chinese New Year can't make a single mistake, right? That they would be like, 3, 2, 1, push the button, and then do their dance that like isn't comfortable. So he'd be like, why is there a green light? And I was like, the dancer didn't push the button right?
Uh-huh.
So in the end, we were getting so down to the wire, like not only with the manufacturing, because every minute they were like, we want this and we want 500 more of these and we need this. And I was like, there will not be anyone in the factory to make you anything. Like, you need to stop, So at one point I had to get like 300 people in a room and build my own factory to complete this whole job. It was incredible. It was like baptized in mass manufacturing and fire.
And you built your own factory that you use today.
Factory, let me explain what a factory is. It's like a factory is a whole bunch of people with a specific skill: sewing, soldering, electronics, whatever their skill is. It's just a whole bunch of people to help you in a room. 300 people, you need a big space, right? A whole bunch of people in a room to help you make your widgets, because you cannot make 500 widgets by yourself in any reasonable amount of time, right? So that's where I learned that like factories are people that have come to help you create your product, your dream, and you better treat them well, especially leading up to Chinese New Year when they agreed not to go home and decided to stay with you to help you finish the job, right? So yeah, I built a quote-unquote factory, meaning I got 300 people in a room to help me finish this job, manufacturing these gloves.
I like how you say that. And it's funny because the media would portray that much differently when you say people first, but yet you're manufacturing in China. So the US sees a very different perspective. And is it incorrect as to, what factories, quote unquote, look like in China? Or is it people like you choosing to put together the right kinds of factories?
So I can only speak for the factories that I work with. Companies like Intel and large corporations, there's a number of factories that they are allowed to work with, right? Because they've gone through rigorous checks and and not to mention the securities and all of that sort of thing. So there are many different factories that you work with when you're building a wearable tech product. There's the factory to do the electronics. There's the LED factory. You need a whole bunch of different machinery for that and expertise. Then you need the people to do the sewing. So then there's the sewing factory. Then once you get all those parts back, then you do what I do, which is integration and finalization, right? That's when you got the LED board, you got the electronics, you stick them together, and then you got the glove, and you put it in the glove, and you connect the cable to the glove, and the glove gets to this, and then somebody tests that, and then 5 more people test that, and then it goes like, okay, this is safe, can be used for human, can go in the good working pile.
Got it.
So no matter what factory you have, whether it's in the States or wherever, they are often computers and machinery and more robots. But in the end, it's people who are there to help you to make your 500 widgets that you need, you know? And
how did you end up in China?
Treat them as such.
Right. How did you, I mean, you're in China right now, which we didn't really establish when we started. And I believe you are between Beijing and San Francisco. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And so why Beijing? How did you settle there? Is it the best opportunities for bringing these kinds of people together with the right skill set? Or did you fall in love with Beijing during your modeling career? Why Beijing?
So again, a big pivot, right? Like, so I was in Europe and America, and I was trying to get all this fashion tech over the line, right? I had established myself as the tech model. I had achieved that. I was like flying every 2 days all over the world. And then I got together with Nokia Corporation, and we pioneered mobile blogging. And I had all these bloggers that were in real time sending photos from all the fashion weeks, all over to 360 Fashion. And it was a real time video, photo, and text. There's a word for it. Wait a minute. Wait for it. I want to say amalgamation, but it's not the right word. But that's a tech word. But anyways, it was like a gigantic pipe of all these photos, videos, and everything coming up from all over the world, from all different perspectives: the journalist perspective, the model perspective, the photographer perspective, 360 perspective. And then I had all these other things that I was doing. I was building mobile games, and I was building in all sorts of manners that you can imagine, experimenting with augmented reality and all sorts of things. And I could not find any one brand, not one single fashion company that would come with me. Whenever I talked to them, they were like, who would ever build a mobile app that you could shop our clothes with?
Wow, nobody had foresight. We don't want to sell our clothes
online.
Wow.
They would be like, why do I need to shoot my clothes in 360 degrees? And then they were like, what's a blog? That was the killer. What's a blog? I was like, well, they're like, no, we just need our news website. No, our own website. No. I mean, on and on the list goes. I could not find a single client. I wanted to launch 360 Fashion as a company. France Telecom, Vodafone, Nokia, Microsoft, all these companies wanted me to become a company, you know, because they need that. I was like, I don't know how to make a company. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And nobody I knew how to do any of it. And nobody was helping me. And so basically, I was like, wow, you know, economic crisis is coming. I'm spending $15,000 in Akamai servers and doing like, you know, live streaming with Vodafone from all the fashion shows to 1.3 billion people. But this is not sustainable. If a crash comes, I need to go somewhere and hide out. I need to go somewhere where people understand what I'm doing, right? And so I looked at the world and I analyzed and I said, Olympics. China. 1.3 billion people with mobile phones who have blogs and avatars, and they know what time it is. It's time to innovate, you know?
They know what a blog is. Woo!
They know what a blog is. They all have blogs, right? And so Olympics, I was like, well, I guess it's back to modeling. And so I hatched up this very naive plan, but naivete will get you everywhere. I hatched up this plan. I said, okay, I will go to China. I will become China's top foreign model. Everyone will play my game, Anina dress up. Then they'll know who I am, and then I could revolutionize the fashion industry from the top down.
Oh my God, I see you in a cape, and this is beautiful. Okay. And did this.
So I went there, and I had to bribe so many of my agents to get me to figure out how to get to China. That was a whole nother voodoo, because nobody wanted me to go to China, because they were like, they live in thatch huts. There are no people over there who do fashion. You know, forget that. So I was like, that can't be. So long story short, I finagled my way over there. And I was one of, I think, the first top model to go over there, you know, with covers in my book and everything. And I became literally in 2 years China's top foreign model, given an award by the government, the only foreigner in history.
Milestone accomplished.
And then they were like, I was actually doing this job, and I was sitting on the wall at 𝐂𝐻𝐍𝐄𝐓's house. 𝐂𝐻𝐿, The Art of War. You know that book, right?
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, and these 3 guys come up to me in polo shirts. And they say, what do you really do? And I said, well,
I'm
actually,
not a spy.
I know technology. And they were like, we shall see more of you. And so then that's when they gave me the award, and then they invited me to their office, and they were like, what do you do? And then I whipped out, and I was like, wow, I do.
I play dress up. Do you want to play?
And not only that, but like I can build mobile apps, and they're QR codes, and you can scan them, and they'll take you to the web. And by the way, there's this stuff called NFC chips. You can put it in your fabrics and touch your phone to your fabrics, and it would tell you everything about the fabric. And then there's like this stuff called augmented reality, and they were like, we don't understand it, but we feel it is the right direction. And this is the thing I love about China. When they think it's right, the Red Sea parts, and they make it happen. They make a way. They do not hesitate. Whereas in Europe, it was like, oh, we don't do it like that. It's never done like that. You know, no, this is working.
Old ways, traditions. Yes. So how much of that is just Chinese, obviously different cultures think differently, act differently, versus did any of it have to do with the fact that you're this gorgeous woman, you're a model, and you're trying to talk about business? Was that hard for people to listen to you? Because in the United States, men see a gorgeous woman. Of course, she doesn't have a brain. She's hot, right? There's a little bit more of that. Not everywhere, but look, we all face it. We walk into a conference room and, you know, they're not, guys are thinking what they're thinking, and it's human. But I wondered how much of it was because you were a model trying to pitch a technology business.
So I totally understand. Like I said, at that contest that I was one of the top 10, their advertising campaign was they cut the face out of a man who was sitting in a limousine with 2 girls kissing him on the side of the face. And they said, this could be you. And I went to them. I was the only woman at that contest. And I said, am I a lesbian? Like, could this be me? And these 2 girls are kissing me? And they freaked out because it had never occurred to them
that a woman could be.
Yeah. They begged me not to say anything. I almost launched a whole huge campaign against them, but whatever. I had pity on them. They took it down. I was like, you need to take that down, because that is like
blackmail material there.
So, but nonetheless, I have to say, I got lucky twice. First of all, it's culture. In Finland, where Nokia is, right? In
Yes.
Finland, men and women are quite equal. Scandinavian countries in general, men and women are quite equal, but specifically in Finland, men and women are equal. There's a lot of women who do tech, you know, small country. And then the same in China. Mao said men and women are equal. And so whatever Mao says, that's what it is, right? And so here, do you know that there are more women billionaires than anywhere else in the world?
In
Like,
China?
there are so many women here in technology, in power. There are so many women politicians. There's a lot of women here who are extremely powerful. And you could often liken Chinese culture to Italian culture in the sense that the mother, the woman, is really at the head of the family. Although in Italian culture, she's sort of driving from the back, while in China, she's driving from the front.
Interesting.
And so, you know, you can go look at all those old videos in black and white. You will see men and women, first of all, they dress the same. They all only had one outfit to wear. So they were equalized through fashion, right? And secondly, you know, in whatever you may think of the Cultural Revolution and whatever, they were women and men equally fighting for freedom of their minds from this serfdom and this whole class system and everything, and they wanted everybody to be equal. They wanted everybody to be equal. Different things happen when things get into power, but that was the philosophy, right? And that's where they came from, right? And they also came from nothing, right? They came from zero, zip, starvation. Remember that whole scene of like, oh yeah, the Chinese are starving over there in China, right? They got 1 billion people starving, right? So they came from nothing. So they had no preconceived ideas of how it should be. They got to make it up from scratch. That's why they are so open to try new things. You ever heard of like yogurt with fruit in a drink? Like that is like kind of gross in America. Or 7-Up with wine? Like weird things like that we would go like, no, you don't do that. They do it here and they love it. And they're like, oh, it tastes good, you know? Because they don't have our preconceived notion of how it was and how it should be. They are really pioneering the future here. So it's the same thing, you know, in Africa, nobody had a rotary phone because they immediately went to mobile. Same thing here. Nobody here had a rotary phone. Nobody had all that old technology. They went straight to fiber, you know, optics. That was it. Boom. They leapfrogged over all that middle stuff that we did, and they went straight into high technology.
That is absolutely
that's just
fascinating.
Their culture.
Yeah, that is really
Not to say that every culture doesn't have its problems, right? We are facing those cultural problems in America. Europe is facing their cultural problems. Asia in general is not a very women-friendly place outside of China. So every culture has its strength and its weakness, right?
Totally.
And it's just amazing, though, I have to say, like how they have done it here. And of course, everyone can say that's not how it should be done. But if you come from zero and you be making it up, you'd be like, this is how we're going to do it.
Right. So you chose right. I mean, you're in the right spot.
I have to say, though, being in a monoculture, it is lonely, and the language is a barrier. I have, after 10 years, I still don't speak very well Chinese. It's terrible. But my plan is to solve that with technology. I just bought like all these new texts that I want to try out with like translation, so I can give you a device and I'll have a device, and then we'll be talking and it'll be like translating in real time, you know?
Isn't that what they use at the United Nations? I mean, it's all translated.
But humans are doing that, you know? Like this will be like an app. So I can't wait to try it. I can't wait to go into a grocery store or whatever, instead of typing in Google, which works okay, you know? But instead handing an earphone to someone and then actually seeing if we could have like some sort of in-depth conversation beyond where are the Cheerios, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I love this.
Let's see if technology can really overcome these boundaries. And look at this right now, Kelly. I get to meet you.
Isn't that
because
crazy?
Technology is overcoming these boundaries, right?
I know. Nobody knew what Zoom was before Corona.
Right?
That stock took off. Yeah. I think that's fabulous.
Many of the things that I built, for example, our smart safety ring, MetaGem, you can touch the ring and it sends a text message to your designated person to let them know you need help, and sends your geolocation. It's also for incoming messages, for not alerting me on the million of Facebook tweets that come out, and instead only lighting up when the courier is at the door and someone is calling me, right? So for focus. Like
yes.
And I think these two things for women are extremely important: safety and focus, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of jewelry that, you would never know had technology.
You made it look good, so people would be interested. And
everybody was like, who needs that? And so I had to sit down and think, who does need that? And the same, like, I made these charging wallets in 18 different colors, hot mirror pink. You can buy them at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago and on their online portal. So beautiful. 5,100 milliamps. You don't need to have the cable and the charger and then put all that garbage and it rips out and I don't know, the snags on and my phone goes flying. Instead, I just have my wallet and my beautiful wallet, and I go out with my wallet and suddenly I'm minimalistic and I'm liberated of all of that. And again, this was the shocking part. When I put them out there, people said, oh, those should cost $30. I was like, are you insane? It took 2 factories to make it, electronics factory and a bag factory, to make this charging wallet. If it cost $30, I would be doing slave labor. I'm not doing slave labor. I'm not into that. I pay my factories and my people a fair wage, and I'll tell you why. Because anytime you will chimp them, they will chimp you. They will use some glue that's cheaper, and you'll find out 6 months later when that glue doesn't hold.
Really?
Pay people a fair wage. They will buy high quality materials. They will feel good about what they're making.
Agreed.
And you will get a high quality product.
That's right.
Does it cost more? Yes. Is my profit margin less? Yes. But I don't do slave labor. But when I put it out in America, they were like, this should cost $30.
Because it's made in China. This is the prevailing, thought. Yeah, it's.
So I ask you, we talk about, the treatment of factory workers, right? But who's at fault? Is it America, who is squeezing the factories to have a cheaper price so they can have a monster profit?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it the factories who have so little profit margin that then they have to use cheaper materials because they have to feed 1,000 factory workers? They have to keep that thing humming, otherwise everybody loses their job. So it's like, I think what we're finding out is the world is round and we're all connected.
Yes.
And there has to become a fair system, fair trade, fair system. Even you bring all that manufacturing back to America, that wallet is not going to cost $30.
No.
Because somebody needs to be paid a fair wage.
Yes, that's right. And I think a lot of that came to the forefront during Corona, when we realized our dependencies on China, amongst others. And it was amusing to me to see the social media craziness around that. And I thought, us all, if you buy something, you are the one responsible. I mean, we're the ones that say we want it cheaper. We're the ones that go to certain stores I won't mention because the products are so cheap that you actually should look at it and say, how could it be this cheap? I mean, should I be buying something this cheap? You think about it, like just logic. It takes a person that had to put their hands on it in a machine, and then there's, assembly, and then there's packaging, and it's just like, it's just amazing to me how, frankly, ignorant Americans specifically can be sometimes about their perspective on the world. I wish everybody could travel more. I think travel is the answer to everything. But travel more and see more for yourself and not be fed information, because you're right. Everybody needs to be treated equal and have a fair wage, a living wage. And in China, in Taiwan, in the Philippines, in Africa, and everywhere.
Now the new black is Vietnam and Cambodia. Right?
Yay! Jump on that bandwagon.
Southeast Asia, right? Like,
yes.
It just moves. But yes, I
eventually
also,
it's all going to catch up, right?
I also enjoy a great deal. This shirt, super cheap, but it was great quality. It was made here, so it was made locally, so they didn't have to factor in travel, transport, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
These type of things. So there is advantage to buying locally. Buying locally can indeed support the local economy. I really love that about also watching during this period how the American fashion designers have, started making these amazing masks, and like they really, had to come together and figure out, was their business working, right? And how do we make it work? And then I do love that every country was like, hey, we need to buy locally. We need to go to local stores. We need to support our local people. And that's absolutely as it should be. Globalization is kind of the illness of our times. And I don't think the whole answer is all that we have to, do everything locally. Because sometimes there's not the machinery, especially in my industry.
Sure.
When I have to make a high-tech garment, or, for example, I'm making a robot. The robot connects to a jacket. The jacket connects to the smart hotel environment. And you can swipe on your sleeve, and the hotel manager can change the lighting and the sound and the temperature and call the robot. The Cartbot, luxury robot, to bring you a drink, right? He doesn't have arms. I don't even know where all these washing machines that are on wheels called robots came from, with like bow ties, and they look like ghosts. Like that all came out of Japanese ghost in a shell futurism, right? But like, no, my robot looks like a 1920s bar, like a shaker bar that you walk up to with beautiful gold piping and transparent acrylic and so on. And it has a bucket of ice, and it brings you a drink. And, actually it was created for boutique hotels who don't have a lot of staff to support them in giving good service, right? So it has 7 cameras and 24 sensors on it, and it can recognize a human with AI. So it recognizes the human, and it can come up to the human and be like, would you like a drink? And can I show you to the front desk? It doesn't talk, but it could talk. But then when it talks, people want to talk back, and then they expect it to answer, and it gets a bit complicated.
Then you have a Siri nightmare. Yes.
So right now it doesn't talk, but
and when does this come out?
Yeah, it's in the finalization.
How exciting!
Going to be sent to me any minute now. Yeah, that's why I'm in China, because I came over to finish it. And again, the jacket is also like a high-tech device. It has embroidered touchpads, super high-level suit jacket with electronics in it. And the whole idea is, like, a year ago when I started this, everybody laughed at me, and they were like, who needs that? Like, that's like a glorified remote control. Well, who's laughing now with contactlessness and this. So oftentimes a visionary, like yourself, that's what you were doing. You told me the story that you often changed jobs because you were searching and looking for the next thing. That's what you had a feeling like, okay, my job is done here. I need to bring my skills to boost up the next thing,
There's people who can see around the corner. You can see around the corner. Did these products you're developing, some you're doing on your own, or are you doing everything in conjunction with companies?
Oh, nothing in this world can be done alone. I challenge you. That was another lesson from the camping. There is not one thing in this world that can be done alone. That microphone you have, this Zoom, there are thousands of people behind it that make all of this possible for us.
Yes.
Seemingly to appear alone. That painting behind you, those books, there is not one thing in this world can be done alone. Of course, it's within a team. I have amazing teams. And this is the other thing, bringing me back to the point of like, sometimes you can't get the expertise in one place. So for example, in Slovenia is where we do all of the programming and the building of the base. Then we have 3D CAD artists in Argentina. Then we have people in Germany doing the design. And then, of course, because robots are easier made here, because they have the machinery to bend metal and do all this sort of assembly line assembling. So of course the frame and the base and everything was assembled here because we have the space to do it and so on. But actually this robot, and I won't even tell you the jacket. The jacket was like, the electronics were made in Michigan with a dear friend, Andrew Chow, who is a master of microelectronics. And then we flew it to my lab, the electronics, and then the jacket was made in my lab because that's the only place I have a designer who knows how to integrate electronics. So we were on video and she's like, where do I put this? And she's like holding up this wire and we had to draw diagrams. And I was in San Francisco and Erin was in Michigan and she was in Beijing. And then this thing was assembled virtually, this jacket, and then I was like there for 2 days and I'm like, this has to light up and go here. And then boom, I got back on a plane and went to Shenzhen. I mean,
so what
that is working in a global way.
Working in a global way. And it's also, you come across, very experienced and so forth, but you didn't start that way. And I think it's important, for the audience to remember that if you're thinking about a pivot, you don't have to have it figured out. You didn't have it figured out. And you continue today to pick up the phone, to call, to question, to inquire, to learn, to, I'm sure, talk about ideas before they're anywhere near a prototype. And you're not afraid. Is that, what would you say is your, encapsulate how you can persevere as an entrepreneur in a few words?
I would say, actually not in my words, I would say in this amazing entrepreneur's words, Colleen Wong, she said, go Google it. And I interviewed her for my Diversity Meets Technology online conference. And I urge everyone, to go, please check out that conference. There are amazing women giving you the tools for the next 18 months. And Colleen also didn't know how to make her wearable. And I said, how did you figure it out? At least I had some tech background, right? She came from zero. She goes, I Googled it and I read the documentation. She's like, people today don't Google it. How many times
they don't read?
Does somebody ask you a question and you're like, there's this thing called Google. And you could go figure that out, right? But it's like this laziness that the world has, right? Like, it takes time. You have to schedule your time. You have to sit down and do the most hard thing in the world, focus. And you have to read it, and you have to step by step it. Today I taught myself, you know, I got these 360 cameras, and now I wanted to make a video where it's me at all different angles, you know, because I want to make this 360 VR video of me demoing my products. And so I had to go figure out how to do it. So I had to go find a location, shoot it, put it in Photoshop, figure out how to mask me off. I didn't know how to do any of that. But in the amazing words of Colleen Wong, I Googled it and I sat down and I focused, and I can't wait to show it to you because it turned out pretty cool from my first try.
And so, how much more empowering is that? I know that there's days where I bought myself a boat. I had never been on a boat without a man. And I was out a week ago, and I've been driving the boat fine, but I never really anchored. And I was like, I'm going to make myself anchor. Not only did I anchor, but a downpour comes in. I'm trying to figure out this anchor, which was not easy. And it took me a good 25 minutes. And in the downpouring rain, I just started laughing like I was on some hallucinogenic drug. I start laughing, and really it was like empowerment. I'm like, I am out here in the pouring rain by myself, and I figured out how to do the goddamn anchor. Yeah. Right?
I'm with you, right? Like, imagining it. I'm imagining the intimidation feeling.
Yeah.
The feeling of like, am I doing this right? Is this boat gonna blow up? Like, I don't know how to do this. It's raining right now. Some man come save me.
Oh, two guys said, oh, let me do that. Oh, let me help you. No, I got it. I didn't have shit, for the record. But I figured it out, and I do that every day. And it's so empowering. That's what I want, you know, more women especially, but men too, you know, just the empowering feeling of those little learning, those little moments of learning, and how that's really what life is about.
And at the same time, I do want to say, like, for example, like, my engineer is in Shenzhen right now, and I'm in Beijing, right? And so, like, I shipped him all these broken electronics. You know, it took a month for him to figure out that it was this one little thing that you have to solder, that it was done wrong in the electronics, right? Took a month for him to figure that out. It's like meticulous. I don't have that patience. You know, he just tests everything and eliminates. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. But now he sent it back, and I got to make these robotic dresses work. And I feel intimidated to crack open the other 9 microprocessors and solder it. And so I do want to say that I'm afraid. I want you to be there, and I want you to do it like 1 or 2 with me, you know, like he's like, but it's so easy, Anina, I could just explain it to you. You can do it. I was like, I'm afraid. I feel intimidated and blocked, and I want you to just be there to watch what I'm doing, because, you know, and then I'll be learning
it. You're still learning it.
So there's nothing wrong with, like, apprentice to master, asking someone to show you, and then you repeating it. It's like, that is how we learn to walk. That is how we learn to talk. That is how we learn to eat with a fork, right? Like, there's no shame in that.
Absolutely not. And you know what? You have been an inspiration. I could talk to you all day. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. It's time for you to wind down. You are just inspiring. I have learned so much. You know, yes, in the fashion industry, yes, as it relates to technology, and inspired on some of these awesome, like, out there ideas that you have. But mostly just that I've met another woman in this world living on the other side who is going for it. And so I'm sending you good energy and a virtual hug. And I wish you all the best. And in those moments when you wake up and don't know what to do, we're all using the Calm app or Headspace or whatever you're using. We're all doing a little meditation. We have to be gentle on ourselves today. The world is different. But I know you're going to kill it. And I know you can always go back to the Rainbow Tribe if you need a little energized. But I wish you well, and I'm grateful that you're on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. And I just love the idea of many people sharing on your show how they pivot, because, you know, we're born, we're conditioned, and then we have to make ourselves a work of art.
Wow. Let's leave on that note. I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Well said. Peace.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Okay,
it's
bye-bye,
so nice.
Anina.
I love your pivot show. Thanks again for having me. I'd love to keep in touch with you.
Let's please do.
Your boat experience burned in my mind now, you know, like I saw it. I saw you in the rain going, yes. I can do this. I can do this. I can figure this out. I am not helpless. Thank you. Thanks, for that. Anina. I'm going to keep that.
Okay.
See you then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Better change up your perspective. It's something new.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Remember our little talk before the show? Yep. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, share, all that jazz. It matters, people. You matter. Thanks again for listening. See you soon.